grow up with parents that heavily disciplined you? How are you consciously deciding to parent differently? In this video, we'll take a look at 3 ways we can be the best parent possible. These tips were inspired by the book Unconditional Parenting by Alfie Kohn. Let's dive right in. The first thing we can do to parent differently is to express unconditional love. This means to love with no strings attached. We need to love and accept our children for exactly who they are, not for how they behave or what they achieve. But how do we express that? Here's a tip. Ask yourself this question when you're wondering how you come across. If that comment I just made to my child had been made to me, would I feel unconditionally loved? This puts you in check. Simply, it's asking, how would I have felt? So what happens when kids do something disturbing or inappropriate? Rein in your criticism. Don't criticize too much, or this may lead to a child feeling unworthy. If you do criticize, focus on that specific action rather than what's wrong with the child. For example, instead of saying, "You're so mean to people," say, "What you just said to your brother was unkind." When kids get angry, they may say, "Go away," or "I don't love you." But it's your job as a parent to stay calm and to not retaliate and to just see it as a passing experience. Have you ever said or demonstrated to your kid that no matter what you do, no matter how frustrated I get, I will never stop loving you? Well, now's the time to do it. Kids need to feel this reassurance that you love them no matter what. Stop the video right now and go tell your kids this. Now, here's a big statement we should address. Punishments and rewards are never advisable and never necessary. Hold on, even rewards? So what's the alternative? Let's take a look at timeouts. The book calls these love withdrawals. Instead of subjecting your kid to a forced separation ahead of time before the big blowout fights, offer your child a choice of retreating to a comfortable and comforting place when his emotions run high. You're giving him a quiet place to cool down and to vent. Parents, you can even give yourself a timeout. When you're out of patience, excuse yourself and go cool off. Now, onto rewards. The author doesn't believe you should just give your kids a reward for doing what we want. Parents shouldn't be offering an incentive for behaving well, getting good grades, or excelling in sports. When we give things, there should be no strings attached. You can shower them with love and attention, and you can never spoil them too much with unconditional love. Feel free to acknowledge when they do something remarkable, but make sure they know your love doesn't hinge on those events. Here you're trying to show them that they're not only worthwhile when they succeed. If they fail at something, this shows them that they're not a failure. Here's what we can do more of. Pay attention to what they are doing and show interest in their activities. Even join in. My husband wishes his dad took him fishing when he was younger, taking interest in what he enjoyed. How can you meet your kid where he's having fun? For us, we play different versions of Monopoly, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm not sure I agree with the author here. I love showering love and attention to my kids when they get good grades or score a goal in soccer. I believe as long as a kid knows you love them unconditionally, those congratulatory words don't harm them. I do agree with the author here though. Instead of saying, "You're such a great helper" when he helps you set the table, draw attention to how his actions affect the other person. Say something like, "You set the table. That makes things a lot easier on me when I'm cooking." You're acknowledging his good deed and making him feel good about it, but you're giving him a lesson in empathy too. Instead of blind praise, you're showing him what the other person is experiencing because of that kind deed. Another way to influence our kid is how we respond to challenges. They watch us. For instance, I was once very nervous about posting up a video on Facebook, but I did it despite my fear. Later, my son Parker said, "Mom, you're a brave person." That's a trait I want to emulate later in life. That is, to do things despite being afraid. The second way we can parent differently is to give choices to our children. Except for when there's a compelling reason to override their right, we should empower them, because kids learn to make good decisions by making decisions, not by following directions. Ooh, let that sink in. Here's a simple way to start doing this. When your kid asks if it's okay to do something, respond with, "Well, what do you think?" This makes them stop and think about their decision. Kids respond well when they're treated with respect and get to be involved in problem solving. As parents, we need to be open to changing our minds. The next time you have a free day on a weekend, ask your kid, what do you want to do? Be open to letting them, him or her, lead. What happens when your kid throws a tantrum? Rule 1 is to ignore everyone else around you. Don't worry about people judging your parenting style. Next is imagine what it looks like from your kid's point of view. Then let that tantrum play itself out. Don't try to control them or respond in anger. Let the heated moment pass. Then later, try to understand the underlying cause. The last and most important parenting skill we can adopt is to imagine how the world looks from your child's point of view. How do we do this? First, by setting an example. When someone seems grouchy or is having a bad day, we say to our kid, "He's not in a good mood today. What do you think happened in his day to make him so grumpy? Do you think someone hurt his feelings?" Doing this gets your kids to enter the world of another person. The idea is to get her feeling what it's like to be another person. Similarly, we must take the perspective of our children. This helps set an example, encouraging a kid to try perspective taking too. When we do it, our kids will feel more heard, cared about, and unconditionally loved. For another book on parenting advice, check out my book on toxic parenting. Thanks and so long!